Armageddon Girls. Here we go. Episode 2 of the Armageddon Girls. Today we're talking about names. One of the resources I want to show you right away is this. If you haven't seen it before, it's fantastic. This is the Social Security, let me get my camera back up here, Social Security website, ssa.gov. Or you can just put in your Google search, do your search bar with Social Security baby names. That'll take care of it. That will take you right to where you need to go. And what's cool about it here is you can isolate names by birth year and by popularity. This is a great resource for any kind of contemporary book. If you're stuck coming up with names, this is a great place to start. For example, let's see, I'm going to get my calculator because I'm not that great at math. Where's my calculator? I've lost my calculator. I just had it. I just had it. It was just here. Where the hell did it go? Are you kidding me? Did it fall? Did Sarah take it? Where's my fucking calculator, dude? It's here. It's here. All right, so let's say, because my kids aren't old enough yet, but let's say and we've talked about in the last episode how my trend is to write with younger characters. Cool. But we're going to set it in 2020, let's say. So if you are in my novel, and my novel isn't going to come out for a couple of years, right? So we're going to put 2022 in my handy little calculator here. And I need you to be 17 years old. Well, guess what? That means you were born in 2005. Cool. We're going to hop on over here, and we're going to enter our year as 2005. And I need more than 20. We're going to go top 50. We're going to click go. And bazinga. We have a huge list of people who were, we have this great list of baby names that were popular in 2005. Pretty cool. For example, the top few male names were Jacob, Michael, Joshua, and Matthew. The top few female names were Emily, Emma, Madison, and Abigail. Now, one of the things I choose to do, you do whatever you got to do. What I choose to do in a situation like this is I don't typically take the top few unless I'm looking for a sort of quote-unquote everyman type of name. If I want a character who's going to be standing in for a lot of different people, maybe I'm going to choose Michael or Jacob or Joshua. Typically what I do is I want my characters to have a special name, some other kind of thing that can really identify them, like Zero, for example, or Beckett. I think Beckett's starting to become more popular now. It wasn't popular when I first encountered it, which was a kid at the library. That was her name, Beckett. I was like, wow, that's such a cool name, and I never forgot that name. Anyway, just a cool resource if you're writing something contemporary. Now, if you're working on a fantasy, then you're, I don't know, man. Probably my guess is, though, if you're working on a fantasy novel, you probably have already come up with a name or 2 or 10 that you already like and are comfortable with and can go ahead and use. My guess is if you work in a genre like that, you are already familiar with other books in the genre. You certainly should be, and can kind of get a sense of like this is a good name, this is not a good name. Like you don't want to have a high epic fantasy sword and sorcery type of thing and have someone named Jim. Like that's probably nothing against Jim, but maybe he doesn't belong in Game of Thrones. I don't know. Maybe he does. It's your book. You do what you want. Maybe it's a funny book. I don't know. What else? So there are, however, plenty of what do you call them? Generators. There are plenty of name generators you can find online. Just, again, go back to your search bar and choose fantasy name generator, and you'll find all kinds of resources. I have done that, but it's never worked for me. That's just never been something that I found particularly useful. That like the names just don't resonate with me. I think you're better off looking at names from antiquity and reshaping them, giving them some different letters or something like that. Looking up things like one of my favorite things to do is to look up various plants, herbs, spices, plants, things like that. You can find lots of cool names like Tannin. The character in one of my fantasy novels is a spice, right? But it's cool. It's like Tannin. That's kind of a cool name. Also, looking up aspects of your fantasy character and then looking those aspects up in Google and seeing what comes up. Like one of my other fantasy characters is Auroch, and Auroch is not really a minotaur, but he's sort of like he's a human guy, but he's got these giant horns, and an Auroch is a type of cow, if I'm not mistaken. And if it's not a type of cow, it is somehow associated, has something to do with cattle. And I just thought that was cool. And there's gonna be a handful of people who will pick up on that. But like, originally I think I used the legitimate English spelling of Orok and then realized that wasn't gonna work, so I changed it to a phonetic spelling of Orrock, I think, or something like that. So it had a little bit more of a D&D kind of Orok kind of sound to it. And I don't remember where I came up with the other names actually off the top of my head. But anyway, just combining words, taking letters out, putting them back in, playing around with that is generally, in my experience anyway, a good way to find some more fantastic names. Yeah, so that's names. So let's go back to where are we here? Book, and there we are. Here are the Armageddon Girls. Now, one of the things I want to also point out that I think is important about this stage of the journey is I may not keep all 4 of these women. I may give them stand-in names like Susan or something like that, just so that I can start the story, so I've got something to hang my hat on. I may change how they look. The point is to get started. The point isn't to look up a photo and, slavishly adhere to whatever it was that you found. Like, well, but this one girl's got a thing. She's wearing a flannel around her waist, so I have to keep it. Like, no, if that's not your thing, then get rid of it. You're not. We're writers. We're creative writers. We are not bound by anything except getting the book out onto shelves. That's what we're bound by. Okay, so I may start writing about Susan or somebody up here, and tomorrow I'll be like, ooh, no, you know what her real name is? Rainbow Pixie Dust. Cool, and that's what we're going to go with. I don't know. And then a year from now, we might look back at that and say, gosh, you know what? Rainbow Pixie Dust really doesn't fit this character anymore. Let's do a search and replace in my document, and we're going to call her Rachel or whatever the hell. You know what I mean? We're not bound by anything. The important part is to move forward. The important part is to go and keep going. If you do have something written and would like some critique on, I do offer a critique of first pages or query letters over at fiverr.com/Tom Leveen. These are $15, I think $15, something like that. And the reason I specify first page as opposed to anything else is because in my experience of 10 years in this industry, 9 novels with traditional publishers, etc., I can tell you for sure anything that needs work on your first page probably needs work in subsequent pages. That's just tends to be the reality. So if you've got something you'd like me to look at and give personalized critique and feedback on, head over to fiverr.com. That's fiverr.com/Tom Leveen, all one word. Here's the fun part. Where do you start, right? Tom, I've got this great idea. I don't know where to start. That's fair. One of the things that I find myself doing, it's not really intentional, but that I find myself doing is I will write a scene because I'll get a little piece of dialogue or an image or description in my head, and I will write that down and then file it away. Maybe it comes back into the story someday. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it gets manipulated at some other point. Maybe it doesn't. Either way is fine. But if you have something kind of stuck in your head right now that's an idea, then get something down. We talked about that in episode 1. Write your ideas down. Don't lose them. And if you spin out the story from the middle, great. If you spin it out from the end, great. Before Zero was ever published, back in the mid-90s or so when I was working on it, I knew the ending to that story almost immediately. Like, I'd only written, I don't know, maybe 2 chapters, and I was like, this is how it ends. That scene, that moment at the bus station, I knew where it was going, I knew where it was going to end, and at no point did it ever change. That's just how it worked out. And then I kind of wrote backward from there to a certain degree. So the answer of where do I start is it doesn't matter. Again, today's takeaway, what matters is that you get it down. What matters is that you start. Because without that lump of clay to start shaping, you've got nothing. So your assignment today is to write something down. Maybe it's just a note, maybe it's a paragraph, maybe it's a scene, whatever, but you have to get started. So today, write something down, and that's what I'm going to do right now. My favorite thing is opening lines. I really, really love, because if you can come up with the right opening line, like for Party, the opening line is, "I'm the girl nobody knows until she commits suicide. Then suddenly everyone had a class with her." You know the one I mean. That's 3 sentences, but it's the very beginning of the book. Whew, that's a good one. I don't know if I've topped that one yet. But yeah, great opening line. So I'm going to sit here and think about my great opening line. Generally speaking, you don't want to start with dialogue. I don't know where that sort of rule, quote unquote, comes from. Um, I think it's just because we want to ground the character, we want to ground the reader as quickly as possible, and starting with dialogue, like we want to start with action, we want to start in the middle of things, as they say, we want to start where something is actually happening, I think that's good advice pretty much across genres, but starting with dialogue is almost too fast, like whoa, give me a second, let me see where we are, and then give me a line of dialogue. It can be very short, it can be very soon in the first page, but opening with dialogue can be a little problematic. Now, one way around that for me is writing in first person. If I'm writing in first person, my narrative sounds like dialogue, and so there's an immediacy to it. As a matter of fact, I've got like 4 books right now that I had started in third person, and I'm going to trash all of it and go back and start over with first person because I'm more at home there, and I think it's going to really help the books. We'll see. Got it. Done. There it is. As of June 24th, 2020, the first line of The Armageddon Girls is this. Darcy held hands with Allison, laughing as they walked away from the carnage of their hometown in southern Arizona. Boom. Done. Now, here's what I like about this. Again, just a quick reminder, I may not keep this. That's okay. Just get something down. Revision, we will conquer revision when the time comes. Right now, we need to start the book. Okay? So, Darcy held hands with Allison, laughing as they walked away from the carnage of their hometown in southern Arizona. Here's what I like about it. I've introduced 2 characters, so I've got 2 names. Good. I've got Darcy and Allison. No idea where those came from. I don't know where Darcy came from. Just popped into my head. And as you can see, I went to popular baby names and just randomly chose Allison. I like the name Allison. There's a lot you can do with it. You can call her Allie. You can call her Allison. I guess that's about it. But it's still, I just like the sound of it. And you have to pick names that you're going to like the sound of because you will be living with these names for a very long time, so you better like them. Right now, for today, Darcy and Allison is just fine. And I love the contrast. You've got laughing and carnage in the same sentence. That's intriguing to me. Laughing as they walked away from the carnage. Like, carnage is not a word you drop readily. Carnage means something bad. And not only just like the carnage, it's not a car or a building or a person, it's the entire town. And it's not just any town, it's their hometown. This is where Darcy and Allison are from. What kind of carnage took place? Why are they walking away from it, and why are they laughing as they walk away from it? Why are they holding hands? I don't know, but by God, I'm going to read the next sentence to find out, right? But what a fun opening sentence that is. The other thing that I like about this is I've established that it's southern Arizona. I am an Arizona native. I'm a desert rat born and raised. I will always love the desert to some degree or another. So I'm going to be writing in a place that I'm familiar with. That kind of ties into the whole, write what you know advice. For me, this is what write what you know means. It doesn't mean don't do research. It doesn't mean don't learn new things. But now that I think about it, I actually have videotape or like camera footage, iPhone footage of several small towns that I've been through over the last couple of years because they were so freaking crazy looking. Like, just weird. And I've actually specifically gone on road trips to do research for small towns that I was going to put into novels, and this may be one of them. Maybe I'm going to use some of that video footage, and maybe I will at some point share that with you so you can see exactly what that looks like as part of my process, as part of my note-taking process. I may do that. I just may do that. Interesting. But I'm really curious now to know what has happened and what's going to happen, because here's the problem. Great first sentence. The problem with it is if this is the beginning, then where is it going? Um, when you drop a first line like this, you got to make sure there's room to grow. Once you start up here, how do you climb? I'm not saying start low, but you got to start from a place where you've got room to go up, where you've got room to build the story and build the emotion, and build the tension. So while this is a great first line, opening with something like walking away from the carnage is like, well, I need to know what happens. Number one, you can't just drop that and drop a challenge in my dojo and leave, old man. I have to know what happened. Number one. Number two, if there's already carnage, then where on earth is there left to go? What could possibly, what could possibly happen in the story that's going to be better and stronger and more intense than the carnage they left behind? Now, this could be a prologue. This could be like not a flash forward, but we're going to start here, and then the rest of the novel is going to be a flashback. That's possible. I don't know. I have no idea what the next sentence is, by the way. I have no clue what the next sentence is right now. Anyway, those are some of the pros and cons of writing a sentence like that. I think it's a great sentence. I think it's a great hook, but there are some pitfalls that we're going to have to watch out for as we continue writing tomorrow, which is what hopefully we will do over the next couple days. I've also started, if you're not watching it here, I've also started a writing and critique group that I'll be poking my head in. It's more for other people to share their work and get some feedback and responses from. It's a small community right now, but if you join up, there will be more people and more people sharing, and it will be really great. So that would be super cool. And I believe that is facebook.com/groups/fiction mentor, one word. Take a look at that. If you're not on my email list yet, that would be awesome. Please head over to fictionmentor.com and sign up for some, like once or twice a month, maybe a little bit more, but no more than once a week. I'll send out some writing stuff that can help you in various aspects of the art, business, and craft of your writing career. So make sure you check that out too. And yeah, I think that'll probably do it. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to come back and keep an eye out. Comment, ask questions. Let's get a dialogue going, and we'll see what happens on sentence 2 of The Armageddon Girls by Tom Leveen. We'll see. All right. Take care. Keep writing.